They are already yours in love. Stop doubting and watch what happens next. There comes a moment in every person's journey when they must decide which voice they will believe, the voice of fear or the voice of faith. Most people spend their lives searching for proof that they are loved. They wait for a message, a phone call, a confession, a sign, or some dramatic event that finally convinces them they are worthy of the relationship they desire. But what if everything you've been taught about love has been backward? What if the greatest obstacle standing between you and the love you long for is not another person, not timing, not distance, not circumstances, but your own doubt? Today, you are about to discover a truth that has the power to transform not only your relationships, but the way you see yourself forever. Imagine waking up every morning with complete certainty that you are already chosen, already valued, already deeply loved. Imagine no longer checking your phone every few minutes, wondering what someone else is thinking about you. Imagine living with such inner confidence that anxiety no longer controls your emotions, because you have stopped giving your power away. This is not about pretending or forcing yourself to believe something impossible. It is about recognizing that every lasting relationship begins with an inner decision before it becomes an outer experience. The moment you change your inner world, you begin changing the way you perceive life, the way you carry yourself, and the opportunities that naturally unfold before you. Too many people unknowingly sabotage what they desire because they constantly rehearse stories of rejection. They say they want love, yet they spend their days imagining abandonment. They pray for commitment while secretly expecting disappointment. They hope for closeness but mentally prepare for heartbreak. Every fearful thought strengthens the reality they desperately want to escape. Every doubt whispers that love is still somewhere in the future, just beyond their reach. But what if that whisper has been lying to you all along? What if the love you seek begins the moment you stop identifying as someone who is waiting and start identifying as someone who is already worthy of receiving it? This message is not about manipulating another person's feelings or controlling someone's free will. It is about becoming the version of yourself who naturally expects healthy, mutual, and fulfilling love. When your inner assumptions change, your confidence changes. Your words become calmer, your actions become wiser, your energy becomes peaceful instead of desperate. And people often respond differently when they encounter someone who no longer seeks validation because they have discovered it within themselves. So, as you listen to this message, set aside every fear that has followed you for years. Let go of every painful memory that convinced you love was difficult to earn. Release every story that says you must struggle before you deserve happiness. Open your heart to a greater possibility, that perhaps the breakthrough you have been waiting for is not waiting on another person at all. Perhaps it has been waiting for you to believe differently, because the moment you stop doubting your worth, stop chasing constant reassurance, and start living from the quiet confidence that you are already deserving of genuine love, something remarkable begins to happen. Your perspective shifts, your emotions settle, your choices improve, and often the world around you begins reflecting that inner transformation in ways you never expected. Stay with me until the very end, because what you are about to hear could become the turning point that changes not only how you experience love, but how you experience every area of your life. The greatest miracle is not convincing someone else to choose you. It is finally choosing to believe that you are already enough and watching what unfolds from that place of unwavering faith. Love is won within before it appears. Without before love can become a visible experience, it must first become an invisible conviction. This is one of the most powerful truths you can ever understand. Most people believe that love begins when someone sends the first message, asks them on a date, says I love you, or commits to a relationship. But those moments are simply the outward expression of something much deeper. Every lasting transformation begins within. The quality of your inner conversations, the stories you repeatedly tell yourself, and the assumptions you carry about your worth shape how you experience relationships. If you constantly tell yourself, I'm always overlooked, people lose interest in me, or love never works out for me, your mind begins filtering every interaction through those beliefs. A delayed reply becomes rejection. A busy schedule becomes proof they no longer care. Silence becomes evidence that something is wrong. Yet when your in-effort belief changes, your interpretation of life changes as well. You begin seeing possibilities where you once saw obstacles. You carry yourself differently because your confidence is no longer dependent on another person's immediate response. This inner shift doesn't guarantee that every relationship will unfold exactly as you hope, but it profoundly changes how you engage with love, making you more secure, emotionally balanced, and open to healthy connections. When you believe you are already worthy of genuine love, you stop begging for attention because you no longer believe attention determines your value. You stop comparing yourself with others because you understand that your worth cannot be measured against someone else's journey. You stop living in fear of losing people because you realize that healthy love is built on mutual choice rather than constant anxiety. This quiet confidence is attractive not because it is magical, but because it changes your behavior in meaningful ways. You become more patient, more authentic, more emotionally available, and less driven by insecurity. Instead of reacting from fear, you respond with calm. Instead of assuming the worst, you allow space for understanding. Instead of chasing reassurance, you cultivate inner peace. Think about the people who leave the strongest impression on you. Often, they are not the loudest or the most dramatic. They are the ones who seem comfortable in their own skin, who don't need to convince anyone of their value, and who naturally radiate confidence without arrogance. That same quality becomes available to you the moment you stop waiting for someone else to declare your worth and begin recognizing it for yourself. Loving yourself is not about believing you are perfect. It is about accepting that your imperfections do not disqualify you from being deeply loved. It means refusing to let past disappointments define your future. It means choosing hope over fear, confidence over insecurity, and possibility over limitation. As this new mindset becomes your daily habit, you begin making decisions from a place of abundance rather than scarcity. You communicate more honestly, establish healthier boundaries, and invest your energy in relationships that are built on respect rather than uncertainty. Whether your desired relationship develops or another meaningful connection enters your life, your greatest victory has already occurred because you are no longer living as someone waiting to become worthy of love. You are living as someone who knows they already are. And from that place of inner certainty, everything begins to change. Not because you forced life to obey your wishes, but because you became the kind of person who naturally welcomes healthy, fulfilling love into every part of your journey. Doubt interrupts the reality you are building. Every meaningful transformation requires consistency. Yet one of the greatest obstacles to creating the loving relationship you desire is the habit of doubt. Doubt is subtle. It rarely announces itself as fear. Instead, it appears as endless questions. What if they don't feel the same? What if I'm wasting my time? What if someone else is better than me? What if it never happens? While these thoughts may seem harmless, they gradually weaken your confidence and pull your attention away from the life you want to build. When your mind repeatedly rehearses worst-case scenarios, your emotions begin responding as though those imagined outcomes are already true. You become anxious instead of peaceful, reactive instead of patient, and dependent on constant reassurance instead of grounded in your own worth. This doesn't simply affect how you feel, it influences how you communicate, how you interpret another person's actions, and the choices you make in your relationships. A delayed message becomes a reason to panic. A short conversation becomes evidence that love is fading. Small uncertainties grow into overwhelming fears because doubt has trained your mind to expect disappointment before it has even arrived. Imagine planting a seed in fertile soil. You water it, provide sunlight, and patiently allow nature to do its work. But what if every day you dug the seed back up to check whether it was growing? In your desire for immediate proof, you would interrupt the very process that allows growth to happen. Relationships often require a similar kind of patience. Healthy connections develop through trust, communication, shared experiences, and time. When you constantly demand proof that everything is working exactly as you hope, you may unintentionally replace patience with pressure. Letting go of doubt does not mean ignoring reality or pretending challenges do not exist. It means refusing to let fear become the narrator of your story. It means choosing to respond thoughtfully rather than impulsively, to seek clarity instead of assuming the worst, and to remember that uncertainty is a normal part of every meaningful relationship. Confidence grows when you stop measuring your worth by every external event and begin anchoring it in something deeper, your own values, character, and self-respect. As your confidence grows, you become less focused on controlling outcomes and more focused on becoming the kind of partner who brings honesty, kindness, emotional maturity, and stability into a relationship. Ironically, this often creates stronger connections because people generally respond well to those who are secure, respectful, and authentic. Instead of chasing reassurance, you become someone who offers reassurance. Instead of living in fear of rejection, you recognize that one person's response does not define your value. Whether a relationship flourishes or takes a different direction, your sense of identity remains intact. That is true emotional freedom. The moment you stop allowing doubt to dictate your actions, you create space for wisdom, patience, and genuine connection to grow. You begin appreciating the present instead of constantly fearing the future. You speak with greater confidence, listen with greater compassion, and make decisions that align with your long-term well-being rather than your momentary anxieties. When you release the need to force certainty and instead cultivate inner peace, you discover something remarkable. The strongest relationships are not built on endless suspicion or constant testing. They are built on trust, mutual respect, and the quiet confidence that love is healthiest when it grows naturally. Stop feeding doubt, start strengthening your confidence, and watch how your entire experience of love begins to transform from the inside out. Live from the end, not toward it. One of the greatest shifts you can make in your journey toward love is to stop living as someone who is endlessly trying to reach happiness and begin living as someone who already believes they are worthy of it. So many people spend their days waiting. They wait for the perfect message, the perfect apology, the perfect opportunity, or the perfect sign that finally tells them everything is going to be okay. In the meantime, they unknowingly postpone their own peace. They tell themselves, I'll be happy when they text me, I'll feel confident when they commit, or I'll finally relax when I know they love me. But this way of thinking places your emotional well-being in someone else's hands. Living from the end means making a different choice. It means asking yourself, if I truly believed I was already deeply loved, secure, and valued, how would I think today? How would I speak? How would I carry myself? How would I respond to uncertainty? The answers to those questions reveal the mindset you can begin practicing right now. A person who feels secure in love does not spend every hour searching for hidden meanings behind every word or silence. They do not allow temporary circumstances to convince them that they are unworthy. Instead, they move through life with quiet confidence because their sense of value comes from within rather than from constant external validation. This mindset is not about pretending that everything is perfect or denying reality. It is about refusing to let fear define your identity. It is about choosing responses that reflect the person you want to become instead of reactions driven by anxiety. When you begin living from the emotional state of someone who feels loved, your decisions naturally start changing. You become more patient because you no longer believe everything must happen immediately. You communicate more honestly because fear is no longer controlling your words. You stop chasing attention because you understand that genuine love grows best in an atmosphere of trust and mutual respect. Your focus shifts from trying to convince someone to choose you toward becoming the best version of yourself every single day. You invest in your health, your dreams, your friendships, your purpose, and your emotional growth because you recognize that your life is valuable regardless of any one relationship. Ironically, this often makes you more attractive to others because confidence, kindness, and emotional stability create stronger connections than desperation ever could. Living from the end also means celebrating small moments instead of constantly worrying about the final outcome. Instead of asking, "Is this relationship guaranteed?" you ask, "Am I showing up today with integrity, compassion, and confidence?" Instead of wondering whether someone else sees your value, you make sure that you see it first. This approach creates inner freedom because your happiness is no longer postponed until some future event occurs. You begin experiencing peace in the present moment. And when you are no longer consumed by fear, you notice opportunities, conversations, and possibilities that anxiety once kept hidden from view. Whether the relationship you hope for develops or life leads you toward an even healthier connection, you have already gained something priceless. A mindset that refuses to define your worth by circumstances. That is the true meaning of living from the end. It is waking up each day with the quiet certainty that you are already enough, already deserving of genuine love, and already becoming the person capable of creating a relationship built on trust, respect, and lasting joy. When you stop chasing the destination and start embodying the qualities you hope to experience there, life often begins unfolding in ways that feel both natural and deeply fulfilling. Your energy changes their reflection. Have you ever noticed how two people can walk into the exact same room and have completely different experiences? One person naturally attracts warm conversations, genuine smiles, and meaningful connections, while another feels invisible, overlooked, or misunderstood. Often, the greatest difference is not appearance, luck, or circumstances. It is the energy they carry into every interaction. Your energy is not some mysterious force that controls other people. It is the combination of your mindset, emotions, expectations, confidence, and the way those qualities influence your words, body language, and behavior. When you constantly believe you are unwanted, your actions often reflect that belief. You may overthink every conversation, seek constant reassurance, hesitate to express yourself honestly, or become fearful of rejection before anything has even happened. Those reactions can create unnecessary tension in relationships. But when you genuinely believe you are worthy of love, respected, and emotionally secure, everything about your presence begins to change. You become calmer in conversations because you are no longer trying to force an outcome. You listen more carefully because your mind is no longer consumed by fear. You smile more naturally because your happiness is not entirely dependent on someone else's approval. You become more patient because you trust that healthy relationships develop over time rather than through pressure or desperation. This inner transformation often changes how people experience you. They may notice your confidence, your emotional stability, your authenticity, and your ability to remain grounded even during uncertainty. These qualities create an atmosphere where trust can grow naturally. Instead of reacting impulsively to every challenge, you begin responding thoughtfully. Instead of assuming the worst, you give people the opportunity to explain themselves. Instead of trying to control every situation, you focus on controlling your own attitude, choices, and actions. This is where real influence begins, not by changing someone else's mind directly, but by becoming the kind of person who consistently reflects kindness, confidence, and emotional maturity. Think about a mirror. A mirror does not create the image standing before it. It simply reflects what is already there. Relationships often work in a similar way. While every individual has their own thoughts, feelings, and freedom to make choices, the energy you consistently bring into your interactions can shape the overall tone of the relationship. When you approach someone with suspicion, fear, or insecurity, those emotions can affect communication. When you approach them with respect, calmness, and confidence, you create more space for honest and meaningful connection. This is why your greatest responsibility is not managing another person's feelings, but managing your own inner world. Spend less time wondering whether someone else is thinking about you, and more time becoming someone who enjoys their own life. Continue learning, growing, pursuing your dreams, strengthening your character, and building a future that excites you regardless of anyone else's actions. As your life becomes richer and more purposeful, your relationships often become healthier because they are no longer driven by fear of loss. Instead, they become partnerships built on mutual appreciation and shared growth. The remarkable thing is that when you stop trying to convince people of your worth, you begin expressing it naturally through your actions. You speak with honesty instead of anxiety. You establish healthy boundaries without guilt. You offer love without losing yourself. Whether your desired relationship blossoms or another meaningful connection enters your life, your greatest success is the person you become along the way. Your energy changes because your identity changes, and when your identity changes, the way you experience love, connection, and every relationship around you begins to transform in ways that are both powerful and lasting. Stop chasing evidence. Become the evidence. The final, and perhaps most life-changing lesson is this. Stop chasing evidence that you are loved and become the evidence that love already lives within you. So many people spend their lives searching for confirmation. They refresh their messages hoping for a text, replay conversations, looking for hidden meanings, analyze every social media interaction, and wait for someone else's actions to finally give them permission to feel secure. But the more desperately you search for proof outside yourself, the more you reinforce the belief that your peace depends on something you cannot completely control. Lasting confidence is built differently. It grows when you decide that your worth is not determined by how quickly someone replies, how often they compliment you, or whether every moment unfolds exactly as you imagined. It grows when you recognize that genuine love begins with the way you treat yourself every single day. Becoming the evidence means living as though you truly believe you deserve respect, honesty, kindness, and commitment. It means speaking to yourself with compassion instead of criticism. It means refusing to replay old stories of rejection as though they define your future. Your past may have shaped you, but it does not have to imprison you. Every new day offers an opportunity to write a different story, one rooted in confidence instead of fear. When you begin seeing yourself as someone who is already complete, your actions naturally change. You stop chasing people who repeatedly show they are unwilling to meet you halfway. You stop begging for attention because you understand that genuine affection cannot be forced. You become more intentional with your time, your emotions, and your relationships because you know your energy is valuable. This does not mean you become cold or distant. On the contrary, you become more loving because your love is no longer driven by desperation. You can care deeply without abandoning yourself. You can give generously without sacrificing your dignity. You can hope for a relationship while still finding joy in your own life today. That balance creates emotional strength. It allows you to approach love with an open heart instead of a fearful one. As your self-respect grows, you also become more resilient. Rejection, disappointment, or delays no longer destroy your confidence because you understand that your identity is greater than any single experience. You learn to see challenges as opportunities for growth rather than proof that you are unworthy. You begin asking better questions. Instead of wondering, why don't they choose me? You ask, am I choosing relationships that reflect the respect and love I deserve? Instead of focusing only on being loved, you focus on becoming someone who brings honesty, patience, encouragement, and emotional maturity into every connection. That shift changes everything because your attention moves from trying to control outcomes to improving the one person you can always influence, yourself. Ironically, this is often when life begins opening doors you never expected. Healthy relationships become easier to recognize because you are no longer distracted by fear. Conversations become more genuine because you are no longer performing for approval. Opportunities appear because your confidence encourages you to step forward instead of holding back. Whether the person you have been thinking about becomes part of your future or life introduces someone who aligns even more closely with your values, you will be ready. Not because someone else completed you, but because you learn to stand firmly in your own worth. So stop waiting for the world to prove that you are lovable. Become the living proof through your thoughts, your choices, your character, and your unwavering belief that you are already enough. When you embody that truth every day, you create the strongest foundation upon which genuine, mutual, and lasting love can be built.